Hi, good morning, everybody. Greg here at the Caddis Fly. I'm going to be tying up an Andrew Grillos fly pattern called the Heavy Metal Worm today. It's a great pattern for carp, and I do a lot of carp fishing here in the Eugene area. But I would also use this for trout. I would also use this for steelhead, especially on the coast streams for winter steelhead, guys. It's a great pattern, very simple pattern. I'm using a Daiichi 1120 size 10. I would also tie these in size 12s, even size 14s, maybe for trout. With the size 10, I'm using a 5/32 dark bead. This is a little variation. Usually he ties it with a red bead, a faceted red bead. Just using some medium ultra wire red, and then just some red eye stub. Simple materials, easy fly to tie. So before we begin, I'm going to slot my bead on there, pinch your barb as well, but I'm going to lay down a little bit of thread here in the front. Get that locked in like so and come back about a third of the way, back to the front. I'm going to cut that out of there. And first things first, I'm using a little bit of this Life Flex red. Stuff's killer, it's stretchy, a lot of movement. I believe this is really what gives this fly the magic. I'm going to tie that up forward, keeping that up top, pull it or manipulate it if you need to, come back about a third of the way and back to the front, really locking that down. You could glue that if you wanted to. I just don't really care about glue all that much. But I'm going to go ahead and whip finish that really quickly. You can do a couple half hitches, doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get all that junk out of there if you need to. Then just tie that off. Untie cut your thread, and then your bead's going to go right on top like that, right in front there. Then I'm going to restart my thread right behind. I'm going to lock all that in again. Then once I do that, I'm going to take this to the hook point, cut that out of there. I'm just going to leave that for now. I'm not too worried about that. But once again, I'm taking another piece of this red Life Flex. I'm going to give it a tail. I'm just going to pinch it, a couple loose wraps, boom, boom. And I'm going to keep this body as uniform as I can. So I'm going to actually use the material. So I'm going to bring that into about there. Oops, still got that, keep that on top. Just like so. I'll take that right to about the bead. Let's undo that a little bit. Pull that out. There we go. That's where I want it, right there. Keep all that on top and keep it uniform. And go ahead and lock that in really tight. And I'm going to take this down the hook bend just a little bit. It's about there. And I'm going to come back to the front with my thread. You'll notice I'm trying to keep a uniform body or taper the entire time. I'm going to cut these about 1.5 inches long for now, just to get some of the stuff out of my way. It's always better to cut these longer. You can always shorten these up as you're fishing them if you need to. And the next step is I'm just using some of this ultra wire red medium. I'm going to tie this in right on the top. I'm going to shove it there in the bead. Kind of some loose wraps all the way back. Touching wraps, by the way, so I can keep that uniform body. Great carp fly, guys. You can sit this on the bottom and wait for the carp to suck it up. A lot of movement with those legs. If you like to get dirty, you can use this for trout as well, just like a good old San Juan worm, which I love, by the way. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and stack that thread back there to kind of lock in that bead. And now I'm just going to do touching wraps. I'm going to come across the first wrap, kind of just make sure everything looks good. Then as I lay it in, there we go, I'm just going to start pulling everything back. I guess I could use the rotary function, but I find I get nicer wraps just doing it like this. You can change up the colors as well. This is red, this is the classic. The classic would have a red bead as well. I just don't have them. But I've also tied this fly with brown. Um, it works killer, just like your San Juan worms. Any colors you would use there, tans, browns, reds, pinks, this fly would be extremely effective. Grillos flies, by the way, you know, the hippie stomper, the heavy metal worm, all these things. He's like Mike Mercer. If he has a name on a fly, get it, because it's going to work. All right, I'm going to bring that to the front. I'm going to lock that down. The body here, you could use a UV resin if you wanted to. I'm not a big fan of glues because I drop them all the time. But you could definitely put a little bead of glue in there to really get that body super secure and extremely strong so it lasts a little longer. But I'm just going to set that in, make sure it looks good. Then the last step, just a little bit of this UV red ice dub, just for a little collar. Don't need a whole lot, but carve this up, put it on. I'm going to do about 2 inches or so, don't need a whole lot. And just a little collar, that's all it is. I'm going to go ahead and do a 4 or 5 whip finish. And there it is, guys. And I'm going to cut that out of there. Funny story about this fly is I took Chris Daughters and his son out carp fishing. He'd never done it really. And of course, Chris Daughters is a master of picking out flies. He showed up with this fly, and lo and behold, he was catching carp like that. So I'm a believer in the heavy metal worm. You can see it right there, guys. I fish this for carp. I lay it on the bottom, wait for the carp to suck it up. You can swing it as well if you want it to. I plan on using this for stillhead if I'm doing any type of indicator fishing. But trout would love this as well. But give it a shot. You know, you can keep your rubber legs a little bit longer and trim those if you needed to. But I keep those on a size 10, about a little over an inch. And it's just a great pattern. Andrew Grillos heavy metal worm. Rock out, guys. Never stop rocking out. Have a great day.